There's someone who's already factored and knows the answer. Yes, dear. Perfect. So it ends up being x squared plus 6 minus 27 equals 0. And of course, I'm getting on to y'all and it's not working. So I guess I'm going to yell to whoever came next. I need two things that add to the middle. So add to 6. Multiply to the end. So multiply to give me negative 27. And she is correct. It ends up being a positive 9 and a negative 3. Because 9 minus 3 is 6. And 9 times a negative 3 is negative 27. Now, she went a step further and solved. Does it say we have to solve? No. Well, it said it was factors, so we're going to stop there. Last Friday, we started talking about 3D shapes. So we stopped talking about just circles on paper. We started talking about things like my water bottle almost looks like a cylinder. We started talking about cylinders and prisms. I want us to quickly review the formula for a prism. We're talking about lateral surface area and then regular old surface area. Does someone recall what keyword I think of when I think of the lateral area? Label. I think of a label going around my bottle. So it's on the sides, but it's not on the top or on the bottom. That's the difference between lateral and regular surface area. Regular surface area is the entire thing. Like we want to wrap the whole present. So if we want to wrap this entire box, that would be surface area. If we just want to wrap the 4 sides, not including the top and the bottom, that would be lateral area. Okay, so we had two formulas. One formula was for lateral, and it said L equals pH. Can someone remind me what the P was for in pH? Okay, so I love that you said that specifically. And I don't care if we can shout out and be productive and quick, that's fine. I really like shouting when we're being productive. Perimeter of the base. And then the H, because L equals pH. It was for height, but be specific. It was for height. Okay, so, we wrote length connecting the two bases. So if I were to take my notes from last Friday, I could show you an example where people would go wrong. We worked this example, and we talked about how the height was 10, because that was the length connecting the two bases. But if someone's going to make a mistake here, they're going to put the height as 8. Because normally when we were doing the area formula triangle, that was the height. But for lateral area, the height is the number connecting the two bases. Okay, and then we were on surface area, which was S equals, and it was L plus 2B. And the L was for the lateral area. The 2 seemed rather obvious. What was the B for? Area of a base. Since there are 2 bases, that's why it's 2B. Okay. So we quickly went through, because it's going to be a rush chapter. It is what it is. I'm sorry for that. We quickly went through prism examples. And on our yellow handout, get out your yellow handout for me. On our yellow handout, we talked about how a prism and a cylinder were different. What is the difference between a prism and a cylinder?
A cylinder has 2 bases that are circular.
A prism is triangular and a cylinder is circle.
Okay, well, we know for sure a cylinder has circular bases, like Dylan and Natalie are saying. Whereas a prism doesn't have to be a triangle. It can be a rectangle. And we even work some with like a hexagonal. It just is any polygon, anything but a circle. If it's got circle bases, it's a cylinder. If it's not circle bases, it's a prism. Okay, so back to our notes. When we left, we were working on the lateral area of this cylinder. The radius is still the number you think it is. It's still that short segment. I have some people who are confusing diameter, which is the length of the whole circle, with radius. I need them to get their act together, because that's diameter and that's radius. And then the height was rather obvious. It's 18, so I put in 18. And when we left off, I was trying to figure out what decimal to put for that. So 2 pi times 14 times 18. I should get some sort of decimal. Say it again, Juliana. 1,500.
83.4.
And again, she's reading directions because directions say nearest tent. Yes, you can read that. But if Savannah has all of this, and her last step, if she makes a typo in the calculator, I take off maybe a point. I don't take off much at all, because let's face it, she knew what she was doing. She made a calculator error. That I cannot be mad about. Now, if Savannah does all this in her head and shows me no work, and she pulls random numbers out of thin air, then we got a problem. Okay, since we are running low on time, we will not completely solve, but we will at least set up this next one. So again, our lateral formula is 2 pi RH. What is the radius in our second example? 12. We see that halfway across would be 12, so our radius is 12. And then our height is really difficult to read because of the silly copier. I believe it is a 20. So a 20. So, you know, I normally would say tell me the decimal, but we're going to move on from there. I know you can decimal type in after that. So finally we get to the actual useful one. We want to, and this is not a good example, but with Natalie's Powerade label, it's not covering up the full bottle. It's not doing a good job. But with like a Campbell's chicken soup can, which is kind of what that next label reminds me of, it covers up the full entire cylinder. Okay, so I'm already filling in some blanks, and I didn't even mean to. The reason we're going to go over this one is, am I going to be mean and put something like this on the test? No. But on the ACT, this is the way you would see surface area or lateral area. Okay, so it says there's a soup can covered with the label shown. What is the radius of the soup can?
8.
Okay,
4.
a soup can. What shape am I going to use then?
Cylinder.
So I need the cylinder, and we're putting on a label. So which area formula do I need? Lateral or surface?
Lateral.
So I need the lateral formula for a cylinder. So L equals 2 pi RH.
L equals 2 pi.
So we've got to plug in some things. We've got to figure out some numbers.
2.7.
We don't know R because it says what is the radius of this soup can shown. Obviously that's what we're about to solve for. But the height we can actually figure out, because if I were to unpeel the label off my soup can, I would be able to figure out how tall that label is. So if we unpeeled it, is the 15.7 our height, or is the 8 our height?
8.
The 8 would be our height, because if we unpeeled it off our soup can, that would mean our soup can was 8 inches tall. So this is going to be our height.
15.7 is how long it is.
That is how long, and that is our length. Yes, ma'am. We're going to have to find the radius, which, no, it's not going to work because that's covering up the like rectangular outside, not just the circle top and bottom. I know what you're trying to do, but no, ma'am. No, that's not a bad thought. Okay, so this seems really blind, but we need to find a number to plug in for the L. We don't know the lateral area. They didn't tell us to us. But there is something we can calculate because we are smart. That lateral area that we're covering up with that label, can we find the area of that label?
Yes.
Okay, what is the formula for the area of this label? Because it's a rectangle. So I'm going to need 15.7 times 8. Again, why am I doing this? Because this label is going to cover up my can just so. So the area of the label and the lateral area of my can, they should match because my label's fully covering up my can.
125.6.
125.6. Okay, so I've got this. So I'm going to combine some things. I know 2 times 8 is 16, so I have 16 pi r on the right-hand side. And then since I'm supposed to find the radius, anybody who's not the radius, I'm going to divide by. But goodbye, everyone who's not the radius. you end up getting the radius is some number. I need a number. So again, everybody who wasn't the radius, I divided by
2,000.
16 pi. 16 pi. Got to go.
2,000. Wait, hold on. 24.6. Yeah.
I just rounded.
125.6 divided by
I didn't put the pi in there. That's all I got my wrong.
16 pi. What'd you get?
24.66.
So we'll say 24.7.
Yeah.
That's fine, but we understand the concept of on the ACT. They're not going to say, hey, Savannah, it's a surface area. They're going to ask her about a real-life object. She's going to have to think through which 3D shape would go with that object and apply that formula in some way. We're going to skip the next one because, God bless us, it would require a little bit of factoring, and that we just can't. We already factored in the bell ringer. We can only factor once a day. Whew. Okay. So on Friday, I went ahead and passed out a worksheet. I did. Did I not? Yeah. Okay, I did. So 1 through 4 were prisms. We knew how to do that as a Friday. 5 through 8, we really knew how to do as a Friday, but for sure we're good on now. So today's real main problem is supposed to be the bottom half. The good news is they're mostly plug-in chug, so they should be just as easy. But again, on the test, what's evil of me is they're not divided like this. And on the test, Amanda must decide, like, this isn't the cylinder section. She must decide each shape, like, what was I given? What is this? What formula do I need? But again, on the test, I'm handing her this table. As long as she can read and say, oh, I was given the pyramid and I need to find the lateral area, she has the formulas in her hand. She has them. Thank you, dear. Will you hand that to Miss Brister? Thank you. Okay, which 2 shapes are we supposed to talk about today according to the learning target? Okay, where are the pyramids on this handout? Okay, I agree. So we gotta put some, again, the descriptions, you can come back and add more. This is your handout. I'm doing bare min on my descriptions. What's something we could add for our description of a pyramid? It ends up being a square base. That is actually true. It's always going to have a regular base.
5 sides.
Yeah, I'm not even going to worry about the sides at the moment. It's always going to have a regular base, and there are like regular hexagonal pyramids, but all we're going to do is square pyramids. The pre-APs cover the others. All we're going to do is square pyramids. That's enough. It has a square base, and then what makes the pyramid different from the prism?
There's only one base.
There's only the one base, and it comes to a point. What would we call that point in math class?
A vector.
So close. It is a V. A vertex. So it has a vertex. And again, you realize there's a difference between a prism and a pyramid.
What's a vertex?
It's the point. It's the point. The little point that they're coming to at the end.
What's a bar? The other word. The other word.
What did he say? A vector? That's out of our league for right now. Okay, so now we're looking at the cone. It looks really similar. I could still write the same note about a vertex, meaning a point that comes together at a point. But I've got to change my word with the base. What word do I need to change it to? Circle, because it has a circle base. So, in a way, it's more similar to a cylinder. You will not be surprised that we'll have pi and r in its formula because it's got to do with circles.
I like circles.
They are nice. Okay, so since we are in a hurry, I will let you read things later if you're dying to read and you want to add more to your handout. The first blank is pyramid. I'm going to go straight to the formulas because we are in that kind of a race today. So I see L equals 1/2 PL. Remind me, what was P for again?
Perimeter.
Be specific. Perimeter of the base. And then we've got this new letter today. It is a cursive L, and it stands for the slant height. It's not what you think. It stands for the slant height. Okay, so I forgot to bring my pyramid with me to show where slant height is, so my Eiffel Tower would have to do. You would think, oh, is it the thing like that goes straight through the middle and the bottom? No, that would be the altitude. We're going like straight on the side. Slant height meaning the height on the side of the pyramid. Like the slant height that lives on the side of the pyramid. If I were to highlight it on my awful 2D shape, I'm trying to be 3D on a flat piece of paper is hard. It is on the side. So sometimes life is nice and they give you the slant height. On our first two examples, life is nice. They give us the slant height. It lives on the side. It lives. That sometimes life stinks, and we have to solve for the slant height using triangles. The Pythagorean theorem. Can you believe it? Again in math class, it seems to never go away. Okay, so we go to our first example. I see my formula. It's L equals 1/2 PL. I need to know the perimeter of my base. What is the perimeter of my base? What is my base shape?
Square.
It's a square.
How
do you get 6.25?
No, it's
I did not get 6.25. Yeah, I got 2.5, and you could add it up 4 times, or 2.5 times 4, which is 10.
10.
The perimeter is 10. I add up all 4 sides, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. You end up getting 10. So my perimeter is 10. Are there any questions about the perimeter? Okay, and then the slant height is actually given to us. What number should I plug in for that slant height? 5. So I'm needing, what is my final number?
25.
So half of 50, which is 25. But again, if Savannah shows me on her paper, she's tried to solve for the perimeter. She found that L. Like, she shows her work. So she types in that last number, that's fine if that's wrong. But when Ryan writes down 25 out of nowhere, that's when I have no earthly idea what he was doing. Well, for that one he would have, and then the next one he probably would have blown it, because no one's that good. Okay, PL. What is the perimeter of my base?
16.
So you do 4, 4, 4, 4. So 4 times 4, it is actually 16. He is correct. Does everyone understand why the perimeter is 16 on that square base? And then the L is my slanted height. What number should I plug in for my L? 8. So I need to know 1/2 of 16 times 8.
48.
64 and 3 squared. 64.
Yeah, okay. Are there any questions about these first 2 examples with pyramids? Are there any questions about these first 2 examples with pyramids? Ma'am?
What if they don't give you the?
That's what's about to happen on this next example. So you're about to see your worst nightmare come true. Okay, so let's look at our next formula. So that was for lateral. They might ask you for the surface area. If they ask you for the surface area, I swear if you'll give me 5 minutes, I'll be done and you can teach her everything.
Okay.
If they ask you for the surface area, you still have to find that 1/2 PL. That's still the lateral area. So it looks very similar to our formula from last week that we were talking about, the L plus 2B, except instead of being L plus 2B, it's just L plus B. Why is that? Why did our formula change for the surface area? Why is our formula L plus B instead of L plus 2B like it was last week? What's different about our shape?
It's a pyramid.
That's true.
2 bases.
It doesn't have 2 bases. The 2B was for 2 bases. If we only have 1 base, that's why our formula is not 2B. There's not 2 bases. But Ryan wasn't blind. He picked the wrong formula. He's going to get the wrong answer. He doesn't have 2 bases. Bless his heart.
Come on, Ryan.
So, again, our formula, 1/2 PL plus B. We've got a lot to find. We've got to find the P, the L, and the B. None of them are just obvious this time. So first things first it says I'm given a square. What is the... Okay, so my perimeter is 8 times 4, which is 32. Does everyone understand why my perimeter is 32?
Yes.
And then remind me, what kind of shape am I dealing with on the base?
Square.
A square. So it's a square base. So my area formula is base times height. So what am I going to get for my area of my base? It's a square. Yeah, so it's 8 times 8, which is 64. And then now we finally get to see this question. Now we live in a world where, God forbid, they did not put the number on that slanted height.
24.
We're going to have to solve it ourselves. So if we notice, as always in geometry class, I see a right triangle I am going to have to solve.
How'd you find the base and the height? How was the height 8?
Because it's a square base, so 8 times 8 is 64. It's a square. It's a square. Yes, dear.
I don't know why, but
Because 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. Okay. Okay, so I've got to solve for the L. I've done colored it over too many times. But the slanted height wasn't given to me this time. I've got to find it. But I know that it is 6 meters tall. And I know because they labeled it that the bottom is 4. And I'm annoyed because you know how I love me some triples, and the ones on your worksheet tend to be triples when I'm in charge. But the ones on notes I wasn't in charge of. So it's not a triple. So we actually have to use that Pythagorean theorem. I have someone in the room who keeps forgetting that the C is the number across from that right angle. It is terribly annoying. 16 and 36 is 52. I end up getting the square root of 52, which if you want to type in that exact decimal and you can, I know it's 7 point something. But me, I'm lazy. I let my calculator do my work for me. I would type in square root of 52. So if Miss Brister types this entire line just like that in her calculator, she'll get the surface area. 7.2, she said. Anybody, but yeah, you. Anyone would help. She can type in this entire line. 179.4.
I got 179.2.
Okay, you got a little off. Am I going to count off for that? No. If you got 179 point something, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy. Well, that went around to 180, so I might not be happy then. But if I'm not happy, I'm like half a point not happy. I'm real close to being happy. And let's be honest, if Miss Brister was taking a test and she gave me the wrong decimal here, but she had all the right math here, and she has shown all her work, my gosh, I cannot take off more than 1 point for that. I cannot. It is not in me. I will never take off more than 1 point for she just can't type in her calculator today. You didn't have the 64. I had a feeling. Okay. Are there any questions about that example? Well, then let's do it again on the next one. The same formula. 1/2 perimeter, the slant height plus B. I need to know the perimeter of my base, which also, again, happens to be a square. So I see the perimeter. It's 6 times 4, which is 24. So I know my perimeter is 24. I need to find the area of my base. My base is still a square. I do 6 times 6. I get 36. So my base is 36. Are there any questions on how I got the 24 or the 36 on my second example? And now here we are again. Yes, dear.
Okay, for the 24, you did 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6.
And it would still be 24, yeah.
And then you did 6 times 6.
Because it's a square, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so again, we're at this point in life where, sadly enough, there is no number on that slant height. And if you've actually looked at your worksheet, I gave you 3 without the slant height. And there's one where I did give you the slant height, but I don't give you the base. So I think you have to solve for it. Or maybe it's with the, I don't know. I know there's someone you have to solve for the slant height in your life. It's just how life goes. So I see,
Very difficult.
I see a right triangle. I see that I need to find that height of that right triangle. I see that it is, or that hypotenuse, I see it is 8 inches high. I'm going to change that to inches,
No,
by the
the
way.
X is supposed to be at the bottom.
No, I need that slanted height. I need it. But I don't know a number to put at the bottom of my triangle. Does anyone know what number should go at the bottom of my triangle?
3, 4.
It is 3. Now let's talk about why it's 3. So,
Oh, I see now. Okay. Because it's the bottom 6. And you
halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we're on Earth, that point is in the center. So if we're 6 across, halfway would be 3. If I went 3 more, I'd be at 6. And if you really look back at our last example, they labeled the 4 for us, but it makes sense. Halfway would have been 4. Other half would have been 4 more. It makes sense. It's halfway. So we do 3 squared plus 8 squared equals x squared. So we have 9 plus 64 equals x squared. 73.
73.
So square root of 73, which is somewhere between 7 and 8. I mean 8 and 9. So if he wants to type in 8.5 above, he can. But again, this constant is lazy. I've already done all this work. I'm going to make my calculator do the end work for me. I typed that entire line with the 1/2, the 24, the square root of 73, and the 36 into my calculator, just as it is. And I solve and get my surface area. Point what? That's what I got this morning too. I don't know why I didn't look at my own key. But again, if Savannah makes a teeny tiny typo down here with her Pythagorean theorem, she makes a teeny tiny typo with her surface area, anywhere Savannah makes a teeny tiny typo, I really can't get mad because by golly, Savannah's showing her work and she's trying to plug in everything into the formula. It's hard to get mad at someone who shows their work, to be honest. Okay, flip. Are there any questions? Oh, voice crack. Are there any questions about the pyramids? And then flip. The good news is, well, it's good and bad. It's a double-edged sword. We are not doing the ones that are not square bases. If it's not a square base, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do either of those. Now, is that a bad thing in life? Probably, but we're going to let it go for now. Danielle, you had a question. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some cones, and I swear they're the ones I fly through the quick because they're the easiest. Now, a cone, just like a pyramid, has the formula with the L. So I see that L still. It still wants to know that slant height. Guess what? That slant height is still happening on the edge. So if we were thinking, when I think cone, I can't help but think ice cream. If we're thinking ice cream cone, we would be eating the slant height. It's not something like in the middle of the cone where the ice cream goes. The slant height's part of the cone. We would be eating it, ma'am. For which one? The next ones? Okay, well, let me finish my words and then I'll go check your calculator. Okay. So what's really annoying, and if I took Savannah's worksheet back, which I will now, on the worksheet, I have drawn the cones for you. On the test, I will draw the cones for you. I see a triple on number 1, a triple on number 3, a 30, 60, 90 special rights. Like, of course, Miss Compton put fun ones, so you don't necessarily have to use Pythagorean theorem, but it is what it is. But sadly, on mine, I did not make the notes, so ours isn't drawn for us, so we got to draw it ourselves. So here's my cone. I'm going to draw it upside down because I can. Oh, so beautiful. Now again, I'm having an issue with people putting the wrong number for the radius. What should be the radius on this example?
2.5 inches.
Is that the radius?
No, it's 1.25.
Okay, 1.25 is my radius. So I see I'm supposed to find the lateral area. It's pi r L. I already know the r is 1.25. Why? Because 2.5 was the whole diameter. And I only need half of that. So my radius is 1.25. And then what's super annoying is here we are at that point in life where we've got to find that slanted height again. I need to know this number. I'm told that this giant number, the altitude, I'm told it's 8. So sadly enough, I'm back to that point in life where I see a triangle, and it's a right one. I know 1.25, I know 8, and I've got to use that Pythagorean theorem to solve for x. But I picked the ones from here on out. I picked the ones for the study guide, the test, that worksheet. And you know I like me some special rights, and I love me some triples. So on the worksheet, it might be 3, 4. You automatically know it's 5, and so the L's 5, and life goes a lot faster than this. But if I did this, it would be fine. 1.25 squared is what?
All of that together.
65. So it would be 1.56. Okay, so you can find that decimal. Square root of 65.56 is a little bigger than 8. 8 point something.
Hang on, you need to slow down, bro.
Ow. You good with the R? Are you good with the R being 1.25?
Yeah,
Okay.
You took the diameter and did what with it?
I divided it by 2. So if the diameter was 5, or the diameter was 6, my radius would be 3. My diameter was 8, my radius would be, so my diameter is 4 on the next one, my radius would be 2. It's half.
Okay.
You knew that. You
I
did.
understand this, it's just you're just blah, 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 blah.
Well, yeah.
8.09 or 8.1.
I'm just going to do 8.1. Okay. So everyone's good with the radius. Is there any questions about the radius in this formula?
Why you have two eggs?
Right here?
No, right there. Right there.
X squared?
No, down. And
No,
the
2 X's, 2 answers.
What does that mean?
Because she square rooted it.
Right there.
Oh, that's supposed to be an equivalent sign. It's supposed to be like an equal. I'm sorry. Okay. So then for the L, darn it, I had to solve a right triangle again. So I did 1.25 squared plus 8 squared equals x squared. I'm solving using my Pythagorean theorem. I end up getting the x, which is the lateral, is 8.1. So I'm going to plug in 8.1 into my formula. Are there any questions about the 8.1?
But you could plug in.
Sierra would get a better answer, a more approximate answer, if she plugged this in instead. The square root of 65.56. Okay, Sierra types the whole shebang in her calculator, and her last decimal is 8 what?
31.8.
Okay, so still, most of Sierra's points. Did she find the radius? Yeah. Did she solve for that lateral area? Yeah. Can she plug all that in is my last concern. Are there any questions about that? Because I rushed through that bad boy. You have a giant worksheet. You have like 7 minutes. You could work on it now.